Hey everybody, Zach here, and welcome to the 37th lesson of this RTS tutorial series. In this video, we will set it up so that our units can enter a building. In the next video, we will set it up so that units can leave the building and so that construction time is tied to the number of units in the building. That said, fire up your editor and let's get started. Alright, so here we are back in our editor, and I have some unfortunate news. I was past this recording and ran into a bug and had to, unfortunately, re-record. And while setting up the re-recording, I had some issues. Everything should be as we left it. Ooh, hit the wrong button there. We should have buildings that construct in different amounts of time. We should still have our progress bar, our HUD, and all that should still show up in my version as it should in yours. There might be some subtle differences. I might have different variable names. I might have things slightly laid out differently. I did my best to get it back to what it was at the point of the end of the HUD videos from earlier in this week. However, there might be some differences, and if for some reason something I have is completely different than what you have, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. That said, let's move on and get started with getting everything into place. If you remember, I said in the HUD videos we need to get our building master and our player controller and our unit, let me just find the unit now, sorry, all to work together. Now, the way in which we currently have the car set up has a slight bug in it, and we were going to originally replicate what we did with the car, and that runs into some issues. I want to show you that bug real quick. I'm going to spawn in 2 units over here and 2 over here. I could have done 1 and 1 actually. And, sorry, that was not supposed to be a unit. It's supposed to be the car. There is our car. We're going to grab these 2 units, and I'm going to make these 2 units get in the car. So what's happening is, the way we've set it up is that it's actually moving the selected units into the vehicle. I didn't think about people might, change what units they have selected, and there are those 2 units again. So we are going to do something different for the building. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to go into our building, and we actually need to be in this window in a minute. We're going to go over to our event graph first, our viewport first, and we're going to add in a new collision box, and we are just going to name this entry point. This collision box will encompass the entire building. Now, we can't actually set the size of it here, but we are going to set the scale of it once we set the size. So we're going to set the scale now, though. We're just going to do 1.5 across the board. So it's going to be the scale, it's going to be 25% bigger than what we actually set the size to, or what we set in relation to. Let's go back to our event construction. Now, if we actually bring a building in to show you what's happening, nothing is happening, by the way. But to show you that, let's just bring a building in. Let's get our industrial, get our factory. All right. See that in the center? That's the entry point. We need this to cover the entire building. Now to do that, let's just delete this for a minute. Ooh, today is not my day. All right, let's just grab that factory and delete that factory, hopefully without deleting anything else. All right, so let's go back to our unit for a second, our building master here for a second. This is not the construct script, actually. I thought it was in the construction script. Here we go. We want this window. And what we are going to do in the construction script is we are going to set the size of the building. Just like we set the size of the meshes, just like we set the mesh here and the material to the mesh, we're going to set the size of our entry point collision box in here. And we're going to do that simply by getting our mesh. So grab our building mesh. Oop, not our billboard, sorry. Grab our building mesh. Move all of this. Move all of this over here. unhook that for a moment. And we want to set our box extent on our collision mesh. So box extent. All right, we're just going to plug that into there and plug that into there. That didn't plug in, sorry about that. We want this to generate collision events, so we're going to leave that marked as true. Let's just move this here. And we're going to get the box extent from our building mesh. So that it extends around the entire building. So we'll get local bounds. And we have two options here. We have min and max. We're going to take the max, and we're just going to plug that into there. We're going to compile and save, and let's drag in our factory again. And you can see there's now this box around the factory. This box represents where our unit has to be in order to enter the building. You can tweak the size of this by tweaking the scale. So if you want it bigger, you can set it bigger. If you want it smaller, you can set it smaller. Now, there will be some issues with a couple of the meshes. For example, the barracks has a really long side with nothing on it because it is not actually taking the extent, it's taking the entire length of the building, which includes the extra little bits that I have on one side that don't get replicated on the other. All right, so we have that in place. Next, what we need to do is we're going to jump over to our player controller. And we're actually going to do some reworking in here. This is probably laid out a lot differently than yours, but before we get into our event movement, I forgot to actually untangle these, which makes no sense. I'm going to undo that in a second. We are going to move these two buttons, the keys that trigger us spawning in our car or our vehicle and spawning in our unit. Right. So let's go into our unit movement. And there's actually a slight problem here. It's this bit here. This really kind of makes no sense because we might not actually be moving the actual ground vehicle. We might be moving its child, a tank, a small Humvee, whatever you want to name it. It might not actually have this name. So a lot of things aren't going to be equal to this. And we also are going to have other things we need to check. So we're actually going to do things a little bit differently here. What we're going to do is we're going to do child of, and we're going to do multiple checks. And each of these multiple checks will have different responses at the end. So I'm just going to make sure I get this set up correctly. So as I said, we're going to do child of. We're going to delete this. We're going to unpin this, and actually this will be the first thing we do. This will be the last thing we do. So let's just move this down here for now. And also, I don't think I reset that, so I think that we do have enough room. I am going to, however, just to be on the safe side, put that reroute there, and then grab all of this and move it up slightly. All right, so we need to check if we are in the child of, or a class that is a child of the ground vehicle. So class is child of. We are going to just plug that into there, and we are going to do RTS ground vehicle master. And we'll take our cast 2 at this point and plug it into the true. All right, so knowing that we're going to go into the building, well, we need to do this again, but for the building. There is our building. And we're just going to copy this. And we're going to paste this down here. Or duplicate it if you prefer Control W. And we're going to do RTS building master BP. Make sure it is building master and not industrial master. I keep doing the industrial one in recordings for some reason. Then we're going to grab, oh sorry, we're not going to grab that. We are going to replicate what we've done here. We're going to take our hit actor, which for some reason I can't remember what category that's under. It's under unit movement. We're going to take our hit actor. We are going to get it. We are going then to cast to our building master. So cast to RTS building master. Remember the top one, building master, not industrial. And we are going to then create a new target called building. Oh, sorry. Not create a new target. We're creating a new variable called building. All right, I'm just going to put this under construction variables just because, it's related to constructions. Actually, where do we set target vehicle? Yeah, it's related to construction, so it's going to go there for now. If I can see where constructions is on this thing. Construction variable. Sorry, I'm blind today. Now, you might think, oh, we're just going to plug that into the false. Well, we're actually going to do something else first. Because I know that eventually we're going to need to harvest resources. We're going to have one more branch. And we're going to repeat this process. We're going to duplicate that down here. And we are going to then search for our resource master. And again, that's resource master, not resource building master. And then this will be the false now. So check if it's a vehicle. If it is, cast to the vehicle. If it's not, check if it's a building. If it is, cast to the building. If it's not, check it's a resource. If it isn't a resource, then we are simply walking somewhere. And that's all we need. All right, let's just set that there. And let's grab our hit actor again. Let's cast to our resource master. And remember, resource master, not resource building master. Plug that into there. And let's create a new variable called target resource. And I'm going to just put this in a new category that I'll call resources. Okay. So we are going to replicate this entire setup, including the 3 if statements, down here. So let's just get rid of this. And let's bring this down here. Plug that into there. And plug your true into this false. Alright, let's unhook that for a second. I'm just going to bring it down here so it's centered to the 3 if statements or 3 branches. We're going to add in 2 more execute functions. And I'm just going to move to location to the very bottom. So we have move to vehicle at the top, which makes sense for that true. We're checking for in a vehicle. Then we're going to have move to building, which will come on to this true here. Then we're going to have move to resource, which we're not going to do anything with for a bit, but we have it set up at least. Move to resource, plug that into there. And then finally, we're going to have our move to location. All right, we're going to compile. We're going to save. Now, let's go to our event graph. And now you can see why I was like, why do I leave these tangled? So we had this remove decal. So it moves towards the location. We have that decal that's being removed on this one. We have the move to vehicle, which we'll clean up in the next section. The next section of this tutorial will focus on cleaning this up because this is really messy. And we're actually going to be adding things onto this before the end of the section. So we now have a target we are moving towards, which is the building. So let's just test this out. Let's put a building down here. Let's grab a unit. Did I spawn 2 factories in? Oh, sorry. I forgot to delete one from the, maybe one day I'll stop deleting the ground instead of the factory. One day. Today might not be that day, though, it seems. Okay. We're spawning a factory in, spawning a unit in, and he'll move toward the building. When he gets there, he's just gonna kind of stand there. Nothing happens. So at least he's moving to the building. That's like literally all we wanted it to do right now. The next thing we want it to do is once we've started to move towards the building, we've cast towards this to the building, we are going to tell the unit to store the building location. So all we are doing is we are going to go into our unit master, and we're going to get out of the construct script. We are going to do a new function called get target building. All that's coming in here is our, not output. We will take a return though. All we're putting into our input is our building reference. And this will be of RTS building master BP. And we'll promote this to a variable. So promote to variable, and this will be target building. All right, we're going to plug that into there. Now, what this is doing is it's just storing the location it's moving towards. Also, I'm going to capitalize that B so I can get that space in, if it will let me. There we go. Because we're going to have multiple units moving around, we need to know which unit's going to which building, or we're going to have issues where the wrong unit is going to be sent to the wrong building. All right, so now that we have that set up, let's go back to our player controller. And here, we're going to take our hit actor, and we are going to trigger this new function, get target building. So, get target builder. Don't mean hit actor. That's the issue. I mean our selected unit. So let's get our selected unit. Sorry about that. And from there, we are going to do get targeted or target building. We're going to plug that into the update move to building. And our building ref will be building. So we cast in here to the building we've hit. We move towards it. And outside of there, we send this information to the unit master, which will go actually to the unit that's moving. So the next thing we need then is, well, once we've crossed that bounds that surrounds the building, I have to delete the one from here, we need to know that we've crossed it. And we need to know that the unit that's moving across that boundaries has a target building that it needs to move to. So what we'll do then is in our building master in our event graph, actually we'll highlight the entry point, we will do a on component overlap. So here, what's going to happen is we are going to check that we are on the right thing. So we're going to do other actor, and we're going to cast to our player master, or not player master, our unit master. From our unit master, we are going to check, is this the correct unit? So we are going to do, we're actually going to promote this to a variable to do that. Promote to variable, because we want to do other things with this selected unit later on, and we're going to name it selected unit. And we are going to take our selected unit, we're going to get it, and we are going to check target building. Oops, sorry, not set target building. We want to get target building. We are then going to check that this value is equal to the building that we are currently in as a BP. So is it equal to self? If it is equal to self, then we want to teleport the player, or not teleport the player, we want to act as if the unit has entered the building. So we'll put a branch here. And then what we wanted to do, so let's just walk through what we've done already. Actually, let's compile this real quick. We tell the unit to move to the building, we cast to the building, we store that information, the building that is, in the unit master. As the unit crosses over that collision mesh, we check, is this a unit? If it isn't, this isn't going to cast, nothing else will happen here. And if that unit is targeting this building, if it is, then we want to trigger an event, which we'll set in our unit master, called arrive at building. So we'll go to our event graph, we'll make this a custom event. We'll do this down here, and this will be custom event arrive at building. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to zoom in that close. Arrive at building. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to set our deselect icon. We are going to take our bool. We are going to set is hidden. Okay, we'll do that last. We'll do is selected as false. We'll make sure that even if they are already false, that it is still false. Sorry, if it's already false, this won't matter. If they are still selected, we want this to become false. We then want to set is hidden, and we are going to then do set actor hidden in game. Sorry, this should be selected. Now that that's true, we can pass that information on to there, and that takes care of a good chunk of what we need to do. Let's just make sure this works. Alright, so we're going to spawn a building in. It's there. We're going to move back here, spawn a unit in, and send them to that building. Alright, something isn't right. We're going to move them back this way, and then move them towards the building again, and they should... okay, or not. That was not useful. So say, oh, yeah. We forgot to actually set it in here, didn't we? So we're going to get our target unit again, or a selected unit, and we are going to do the arrive at building. We're going to compile and save, or test it out. I forgot to hit save though. Spawn our unit in, move it towards that thing. Sorry, I didn't move towards the building. Alright, so let's just cross back into side. There we go. So that little bug is a fun one. What's happening is we are actually not setting everything until it crosses that second time. And there are a few ways to address this. First things we want to do is we want to make sure that the target is actually set at the correct stage. So right now it actually isn't being set at the correct stage. And because I know that we're actually going to change some things later on, this is going to be kind of decimated. We are going to repeat some of this on the outside. So it's going to look a bit weird. So what we're going to do in preparation for the next section where we clean this up is we're going to do some stuff that we've already done on the inside. We're going to do that move to actor or location or actor on the outside here. I'm just going to move this out of the way. We are actually going to do it after we've set our target building. So we're going to plug that into there. And this command will override the previous one, by the way. Move to building still goes into there. Our unit AI is still our controller. And our target location is still our target location. Alright, that should take care of that. Oh yeah, I didn't spawn a building in yet. Spinning around looking for the building. There we go. And he should vanish when he arrives at the building. Or not. Alright, so it looks like we're going to have to actually start that decimation now. I thought I could get away with not doing that. We're going to take this away. And we're just going to go straight into here. And we're just going to cut that for now. And we're going to just move that there. Let's go back to our event graph. Well, we'll plug that there. And you can see this is going to get real messy real quick. Plug that into there. Put a reroute in. Actually, we're going to move this over here first. Then we're going to put a reroute in. There's our reroute. Move this over here. And we're just going to move that there. Not so worried about putting a reroute in for that part because, again, we are going to remove a lot of this down the road. And again, we're going to ignore resources. If they hit a resource, we aren't going to do anything just because, well, it's going to get too messy for this tutorial before the cleanup if we do that. All right, there we go. Now if we hit play, first let's make sure our unit can still move to places. All right, we're having a bit of an issue where it's not spawning in our decal. So the reason why isn't it spawning in our decal? We'll worry about that in a second. Let's actually turn off that. Spawn in a unit. Yep, it's not spawning in the decal. Lovely. Put that out there for now, though. Let's just make sure he gets into the building right away. There he goes. Sorry about the jerkiness there. I had switched to check something. Gonna spawn in another unit and just do that again quickly with the same factory. The unit will move into the factory. Now you might expect us to, when we open the factory, be able to see the units. Well, we can't yet because we skipped something in the last video. And yeah, well, that's the error with the decals not showing up. We'll take care of that in a minute. What we skipped, if you go back to our building HUDs, actually it is in our text field, oh no, it is in our building HUD. Sorry about that, I lied to you. We skipped the get unit information at the very top. Let's go to the progress bar window right here. We've skipped that get unit name, or set unit name. So we're going to set it now. We'll go back and work out what's going on with the decals in a second. Spawn our unit in, move it to the building. And it's still not going to work, by the way. Yeah. Because we haven't told it to actually get these unit names. Again, we'll worry about that in a second. All right, let's go back to our building master. And when this happens, we need it to update the information it has about the building. So we need it to update occupants. And what's going to happen, actually, it's going to happen from there conjointly between the unit master and the building. Oh, sorry, no, between actually all three. So we're going to trigger an event off in the unit master that will go to the player controller. And that is going to be a send occupants function, or sorry, a send occupants event. So in here, we are going to just find a blank spot, which we'll use over here. And I said we're cleaning this up later, so it's going to be a bit messy for now. We're going to we're going to do a custom event. I was going to say, we're going to zoom in. I'm already zoomed in anyway. And this will be send occupants. Just like we did send passengers. And this will have two parameters going in. One will be building. And this will be of RTS building. RTS building master BP. And the second one will be our target unit. Sorry, that will be unit master. There we go. Now that that's in place, we will do an event in our building, which is get unit. So let's go to our building. Actually, first, before we do that, before I forget to actually trigger this send occupants, let's go back to our unit master. And let's grab our controller reference. So we have our references there. There's our controller. Let's grab it. And let's do a send occupants. And we're just going to plug that into there. The building that we are going to is our target building. So let's grab our target building and put it there. So we get our target building here, we're passing it through here, and the target unit is the unit that's doing this action. Remember, this BP spawns for each unit, because it's a class file, so to speak, so it's a reference to self. There we go. Now, it's giving us a warning because, well, there is nothing at the end of this. It doesn't do anything. It's going, oh, well, why are you telling me? Oh, sorry. Also, we didn't compile this. Now, if we go back and where's our unit master compile it, that warning should go away. Sometimes it sticks around if you have nothing at the end of this. It really shouldn't, because this might propagate down to a child, and the child might be doing something with the building, or no, this is a player controller, so it's not going to be any children. But, you know, you get the idea. You might have something else. Now, in our building master, we are going to have a get units function. So we're going to have get unit. So we have a get unit that will have one parameter, and this will be our target unit, which will be of RTS building. Sorry, not RTS building. It'll be unit master. All right. We are then going to create a new variable called occupants. And occupants will be a RTS unit master, and it will be an array of these unit masters. We are going to get this, and we are going to create this array by adding unique. And what unique value we're going to add is the value we are passing in from the player controller. I'm going to put a couple of reroutes in there just so it's a bit neater. Oh, let me move it. Thank you. And I don't think we can ever get the... Yeah, no, you can't get that one ever to line up properly. And it drives me crazy. All right, the reason why we are doing this is, well, we have an interface we can play with in our HUD. So we have the set occupants. If you go into our HUD, let's make sure that our HUD actually has it set up. Yep, we get our occupants in there. Well, we now need to send this information to the HUD. So let's grab our HUD reference. We're going to get it. And we are going to set occupant. And we don't have the right one here. So we're going to hit context sensitive. And you see message. Set occupant names message. Right click, turn context sensitive back on. Plug the execute pin into there. And then we're sending our occupants over. Excuse me. We are going to grab our building HUD again. And we are going to update occupant list. Plug that in. Now this will trigger that event where we've just added in that set unit names. And then finally a return node, because return nodes are useful. All right, let's make sure this works. Spawn a factory in, put a unit there, and send her off. We also have to address that bug. All right, so the unit isn't showing up. Let's see what's happening. Let's make sure that... Oh, I know what's happening. It's... Yeah. We haven't actually sent occupants yet. So let's go back to our player controller. And we need to do in building get unit. Pass that in. We are going to be passing in this unit here. Now we're going to do it again, and this should work. You might have a problem opening up your building HUD, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that I'm actually struggling doing that. That is something we'll take care of in just a moment. Units in there. There goes that problem again. And there's that unit. So what's happening is we actually aren't deselecting the unit. So once the unit arrives at the building, we want to deselect it. And if you can't get your HUD to open yet at this point, the trick is spawn your building in, put your unit there, right click on the building to send the unit. Once the unit is there, left click anywhere, like you're doing a marquee selection. It clears your selection, right click on the building. All right, so let's actually clear out our array of selected units, but not all of them, because we might actually select units between sending a unit and to a building and when it arrives. So we're going to do selected units. We are going to do a for each loop. So for each element of this array, we are going to check something. And what we are going to check is this target unit still in this array? So we're going to put a reroute in here. And we're just going to drag this down so we have a bit of room. I'm going to drag it down a bit further, actually. And we are going to do equal. We want to know, and we're actually going to set it to this bottom pin here. We want to know, is this array element equal to that target unit or units? Put another reroute into here and raise that there. We are going to do a branch. And we are not going to remove the item directly from this array at this point. We'd be iterating iterating an array while it's looping, and that can cause issues. Now, we will do that somewhere else, but that's just because we're deleting one item from the array and then deleting what is then stopping the loop. But here, we might be sending multiple units. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in a new variable. Let me just close these down. and that new variable will be unit to be deleted. And it's actually not going to be deleted, it's just going to be removed from the array. This will be an array, and it will be an array of integers. What we're going to do is we're going to set that integer, and we're going to add unique on the true. So if the unit that's gone into the building is still a selected unit, then we want to add a element number, an array. We want to add a number, so an integer, into an array, and the number we want to add in is the array index that we are currently looking at. All right. So we now have a new array that is just full of numbers. It's saying this is a unit we are looking at. We then want to remove that element from this array. But the way we're going to do that is we're going to do another for each loop. So we're going to see this on here, for each, when it's completed. And it's going to be for each element in this array. We are going to remove an index. So let's actually move this to, where's selected units? It's in unit control, so we're going to put this in unit control as well. We are going to, for our selected units, we are going to remove index. And we're going to do that for the length of this loop body. So for any index in here, from any array element in here, which is the array index of our selected unit, we are going to remove that index from the selected units. So we're going to use array element. So remember what this is this is taking the array index and turning it into a units to be deleted array element. That array element again is the selected units in array index. You cannot use the array index because let's say it's the third unit that arrives in an array. So it's the second. So it's the third unit in the array, and it gets stored in the first spot here. If we use array index, it's going to delete the first spot from this instead of the third spot, which is what's stored in the array element. We are then going to go down here, and we're going to do a branch. And what we're going to do in this branch is we're going to check our selected units. We are going to make sure that the last index is greater than or equal to 0, as we typically do. So greater than or equal to, if I can get my keyboard to work right, there we go. Or my fingers to work correctly. One of those was off. Plug that to there. If this is true, then we want to keep unit is selected. Or yeah, is a unit selected. If it is not, then we're going to turn that to false. All right. That should take care of that little problem. Let's spawn a factory in, spawn a unit, and move the unit to the factory. There we go. I was able to open it without any problems. You'll notice, though, it's still constructing. So, we need to take care of that. Now, given that we are about 40 minutes into this, we will do that in the next video. As well as in the next video, we will remove the individual or the units that get into a building. So right now we spawn a building in and we send a couple of units there, or 3 units. We have these names. All we can do is open the profile. We cannot delete the building. We cannot release the units. We can't right click to do anything. So we will set the construction up, and we will remove the units individually from the building, or at mass when we click the release button. That said, if you notice anything that's different between what I have and what you have that breaks the system, let me know, and I will try to quickly address that. And also, if you want to see anything in this series, let me know. Tell me down in the comments below. If you like this video, hit that like button. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.